Alright. Let's see what we want to do. Let's do it. There we go.
Stolen things, oh, then the quartermaster on last easily. Miners don't die today, cargo text push back, our enemies are in dismay, all hail Carbonia. Station went to hell, security's dead, for all by the head of personnel, we still go ahead. Let's rob the armory, cities will not care, don't stop for the Nathan Larceny. No one cares for Nadan. Hail Carbonia, land of stolen things. Miners don't die today, cargo takes push break, our enemies are in dismay, all hail Carbonia.
When we pulled into Cargo Bay, needed shotgun shells. The QM yelled at me to stop a banging on his bell. We wanted some munitions for our glorious Fallon hunt, but found too late that they just hated us green tiny cunts.
And we're banned from Cargo, everyone.
Banned from Cargo just for having a little fun. We spent the whole round gearing up and stealing all their ore. Now NT doesn't want us anymore. I started as a cargo tech and I had to send these comms, so I did what anyone would do and ordered 20 bombs.
Hey, can I borrow
but
that?
then an engine with a welder hit me and set me ablaze. So cargo set on fire too when the server lagged for days. And we're banned from Cargo, everyone. Banned from Cargo
Just for having a little fun.
We spent the whole round gearing up and stealing all their ore. Now NT doesn't want us anymore. Worked the shift as King Cargo decided to succeed. The cargo techs were sent out to take all things we need. Foolishly, Sec challenged us and all of them did fall. The only thing that stopped us was that goddamn shuttle call. And we're
Banned from Cargo, everyone.
Banned from Cargo just for having a little fun. We spent the whole round gearing up and stealing all their ore. Now NT doesn't want us anymore.
Take it from you, Stagger.
I heard those fucking techies were building an engine. They didn't heed my warnings, they constructed an SM. just to let them know who really is the chief. I cut the power, locked the doors, and now they're all ground beef. And we're banned from cargo, everyone. Banned from cargo just for having a little fun.
We spent the whole round gearing up and stealing all their ore. Now NT doesn't want us anymore. Solo!
There we go. Y'all got some yellow gloves I can borrow? Hey, is it cool if I stash this here? Nah, it's fine. I got you.
And we're banned from cargo, everyone. Banned from a little fun. We spent the whole round gearing up and stealing all their ore. Now NT doesn't want us anymore. A pizza party is reward enough for all the cargo techs. Might as well still work for this because of their nervous wrecks. Any other suggestion just might be a side obscene. Just another fucking ship on Space Station 13. And we're banned from cargo, everyone. Banned from cargo just for having a little fun. We spent the whole round gearing up and stealing all their ore. Now NT doesn't want us anymore. Because we're job banned. I fight my enemies.
Oh yeah. We oops, wrong one. I'm listening to some listen to me some Assassin's Creed Black Flag, that's for sure. Now where is... Here we go. Okay, let's close this down so I don't accidentally start it. Get an email. Oh, hold on just a second. Hold on for just a second. I want to respond to a question before I get into this. Second. I'm trying to figure out My brain's not working. Well, good. We'll all be in this together then. Okay. So, first thing, well, first thing, if you can, keep, wow, it jumped down to 360, that's dumb. Oh no, okay. Keep making sure that you reset the stream to live if you can, because it keeps wanting to drop behind, and I want to try to keep this as low latency as possible. So if you ask about something, it won't be, you know, way behind, or if I respond to something, it won't be, you know, off kilter. Second, you may notice I changed my YouTube name. This is the first time since I started YouTube that I changed my name. But I figured if I'm going to use it for you guys, I should probably do something a little more professional than my, like, middle school freaking idiot name. Now that said, it's still some nerd nonsense, but it's a little more professional. And also, if it's also for another group that I'm in, and if I decide to start posting stuff regularly for the group, then it'll be a little bit easier for that. And finally, how many folks are in here? 21. Damn, y'all are fast. Although I guess I did give you guys like a 10-minute early warning. Jesus, this is what I get for not sleeping last night. I have to start taking roll, and I attempted to call everyone out in my last class, and my last class is a lot smaller than you guys in terms of sheer numbers, and that took forever because, again, the latency. So instead of that, if you kind folks would instead simply report that you're here in the chat room comment section, that would be great. And if you're like me and using a name that's not your name, just put your name in the comment. So, like, right. Right. Kira Evans, Kurtrick, Berta, yeah. You folks, you got it. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you all very much. It makes it so much easier. Because not only, I mean, is it just time consuming to call everybody out and then wait for the lag and then have you guys respond and then go to the next one, but also I have to make sure that I try to pronounce everybody's name right, and I'm bad at that, and then I feel bad about it. It's the whole thing. So, alright, great, everything excellent, and that'll be in the chat, so I can go back and look at that after class, and go ahead and take care of that when I need to look at the what's the word, retention. They're like, oh, make sure people are coming to class. It's like it's a line. What am I supposed to do? So yeah. Anyway, we did the Portugal thing. Right. So, hey, thank y'all for that. Responding very quickly. Now, also, I would like to say that this applies to both these online sessions and if we ever manage to get back to the continuum. Now, this is only for me. I can't speak for other professors because I know I had a professor who, like, say, if I had a 10 o'clock class with him, at 10 o'clock and 1 second, he would close the door and lock it. Like, he didn't play around. That's not how I roll. If you're running behind, now, you guys are high school students, and most of you take the bus in, so unless the whole bus is late, you guys shouldn't have to worry too much about being behind. And also, it's a 10 o'clock class, so you guys should already be, like, right across the hall. But anyway, in case you guys are late, don't worry about it. Come on in. Like, it's not a big deal. And same goes for, gotcha. For this, if I'm teaching, if I'm, doing my thing, and, you make it to the stream a little behind, don't worry about it. Put your name or respond in the chat. Cool, you're on the roll now. Don't worry about it. I'd rather you be late than not show up at all. Get part of the lesson than not get it at all. So, with that said, unless anybody has any questions, we'll continue on with what we've been doing last week, and then move into some new stuff. Let's see. Once again, it does not like staying live. Now that might be my laptop. I don't know how it is doing for you guys. My laptop's getting old. Okay, so actually, hold on. I'm gonna do this. Bunch of crap. Move this over here. Put this beside it, so I don't have to keep turning. Okay. Cool. Look at me. It's almost like I got a dual screen. All right. So, last time we talked about Portugal. What? No. Prince Henry the Navigator, the development of the caravel, and eventually traveling around the southern tip of Africa to the Indian Ocean. By the early 1500s, they had controlled the Indian trade from Arab fleets, set up trading posts, reaching all the way to Indonesia, China, and Japan. Portugal was on top of the international trade and forced the other nations to catch up. Now, we're going to see a lot of fluctuation with that. Actually, the next chapter, what do we got? Oh, no problem. You're good. You're fine. I got you, Leah Stone. No problem. I totally understand having to get crap to work. Believe me. But yeah, I've been working on notes for the next chapter, and like the whole first half of it is Spain's in charge of everything, and then it just goes, and now they're not. Okay, I was gonna say I'm gonna need your name there. Cool, thank you. All set. So, this, again, in my 102 course, the numbers, no, not 102, 104? Oh. Just a moment, let me respond. This so that I don't have them freak out. I got you. Okay. Gotcha. Paul Richardson, all set. And I got you as well, Gavin. Blah, 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 blah. So, and as we mentioned last time, this expansion in Europe, taxation, waging war, so they needed to expand their economic base, and this eventually expanded into slavery. Now, this didn't immediately become the sort of slavery we would see in, say, the Caribbean islands or here in America. Typically, captives of war, sold as payments for death or other such events, and then the slavery wasn't inherited. If a captive had a kid, his kid wasn't, immediately a captive. And even the African slaves at the start were usually still indentured servants. Now, it wasn't like with the indentured servants from Europe where they were given a choice, where it was, hey, you can go to America and work this amount of time and then get your stuff. It's, hey, we're taking you and you gotta work, but then after this amount of time, then we'll let you go. Usually. But it wasn't this idea of like generational servitude. Not yet. But of course, you know, it was going to get worse. Now, Europeans, of course. Oh, excuse me. Gracious, that hurt. Europeans were familiar with Africa, but mostly with northern Africa because that was right across the Mediterranean Sea. There were the Muslims that had conquered pretty much all of North Africa, these large kingdoms, and then, of course, Egypt, which all had ties to the east. So there were these exotic, again, just these big kingdoms full of exotic spices and just very Arabian, if you will. But then as the Europeans began pushing into West Africa, as the Portuguese started pushing down to try to go around the southern tip, they began putting the trade posts along the coast, and the slaves here were dirty, tired, exhausted. They had been forced to march. Actually, let me get my book out. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. They arrived at the coast exhausted, hungry, dirty, and with few clothes. This began to characterize the Europeans' views of Africans. And this ingrained the Europeans' idea of a race of people who were signed by God into a life of bondage. This was a Christian belief, considered Africans cursed sons of Ham, moral impetus for slavery. Yeah, here we go. This resonated with biblical stories like that of Ham, who sinned against his father Noah. Noah then cursed Ham's son Canaan to a life of slavery. Increasingly, European Christians considered Africans the sons of Ham, infidels rightly assigned by God to a life of bondage. The self-serving idea then justified the enslavement of black men, women, and children. So, yeah, that's, horrible. To use what's supposed to be a positive doctrine, and it's like, oh no, this is good and for slavery. Sorry, my cat's being a beached whale. Now, obviously, the beleaguered tribes in West Africa did not make up the entire continent of Africa. It was full of diverse and highly civilized kingdoms. The book goes into greater detail. It also mentions that some that converted to Christianity begged the Portuguese to end the slave trade. It says here, as early as 1526, Afonso, the king of the Congo people and a convert to Christianity, begged the Portuguese to end the slave trade. Merchants are taking every day our natives, sons of the land, and sons of our noblemen and vassals of our relatives. So, I mean, this 1526, that is very, very early on. that these people have converted to Christianity and supposedly, uh, on an equal level, are still being enslaved. Now again, this was still before perpetual slavery. This was before people were born into slavery and this idea of generational bondage. Africans were put alongside other bound labor, peasants, indentured servants, criminals, apprentices. Slavic workers were especially common in sugar plantations. In fact, the term Slav became the basis for the word slave. Slavic peoples being those from basically the area around Russia, Romania, Bulgaria, Eastern Europe, essentially. I mean, yeah. Actually, here we go. When the English entered the African slave trade in the 1560s via the privateer John Hawkins, they quickly put their own spin on such comparisons. In the 16th century, they viewed both Africans and the conquered Irish, because the English are always going to have something to say about the Irish, as, quote, rude, beastly, ignorant, cruel, and unruly infidels, because the Irish were Catholics, so obviously they're gonna consider them inhuman. Oh, right. So this is horrific. Now these are technically wood cuttings of how Europeans viewed Native Americans, but yeah, what? This is weird. I've never actually seen this before. I mean, before I found it for this class. But it's apparently pretty common. Now this is just yeah, right? This is apparently just a European, like, weird minstrel play, so racism. But yeah, here it is again. Now I think this one's much older. You can see the guys with the medieval armor. But yeah, it's just some like weird headless torso face thing. It's so weird. I don't know. That's just not something I really would have ever thought about. So, moving across the Atlantic. now that we've looked at that. Now, the Norsemen discovered North America first, which is to say the Vikings, around 1000 CE, 1000 AD, however you want to say it. It doesn't matter. It was abandoned by about 1450 due to an encroaching little ice age. There's a lot to that. Again, in my 104 course, we'll go more into that if you ever want to take that course. I'll be teaching it next semester, I believe. 1492, wait, will it be next semester? 1450. No, that'll be the end of this semester. In my 103 class. Yeah. Anyway. Of course, we have 1492. Christopher Columbus. He's from Genoa, so he's Italian. Now, Mediterranean is under Italian control. The river on the southern tip of Africa was controlled by Portugal. So he told Spain, hey, I can just sail west across the Atlantic, and bam, I'll be in Japan. Now, his whole thing wasn't, oh, the world's actually round, and nobody else knows that. Everybody that wasn't an idiot back then knew that the world was round. Like, that was common knowledge. Only idiots think the world's flat. I will die on that hill. Actually, Christopher Columbus was wrong in that he thought that the world was much smaller than it actually was, and figured he could just sail west for a couple of weeks, and then bam, he'd be in Japan. He was wrong. Actually, if it wasn't for North America, and if it had just been water, his crew would have killed him. Now, there's a whole dynamic between King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. That's why whenever we talk about Ferdinand and Isabella, we always say Ferdinand and Isabella, not just King Ferdinand, because when they were married, they joined their kingdoms. It wasn't just he's the king and she's the queen. It's she ruled her part of Spain and he ruled his part of Spain, and they joined them together. And she had just as much, if not more, power than he did. So she decided, hey, I'm going to go with what Columbus is going to do, even though all my advisors say he's an idiot and he's going to waste my money. And he almost did waste the money, because it took so long to cross the Atlantic that his crew nearly threw him overboard. However, he did finally land in what became San Salvador, and thought he had found the East Indies. He had not found the East Indies. What? You're an idiot. And despite all the exploration Columbus did, found nothing that showed that he was in Japan or India. He was convinced that he was where he was supposed to be and everything was fine, because how could he be wrong? So the Pope declared that all new lands discovered to be under the control of Spain, but then Portugal complained about it, and everything east of Cape Verde Islands would be given to Portugal, which led to Portugal getting Brazil. What are you doing? There's a whole thing about that. That's why that's why Brazil speaks Portuguese. Stop stepping on my book, you fat cat. This is auto. No, you're just gonna lay down. Lord ass. Alright, so I believe that was Leif Erikson made it to found Iceland, Greenland, and then Newfoundland. I think he got as far as Newfoundland. And there's old Columbus in San Salvador, which is to say, this land saved my butt because now my men aren't going to murder me. There's Isabella. Oh, speaking of Isabella, she's interesting, because it was around this time that the Queen in chess got the current, shall we say, power that it does today. Back before Isabel, the Queen, I think, was about as strong as the King and could only move one space in any direction. And then during the time of Isabella, whoever was in charge of making chess rules was like, no, let's give the Queen the power of any piece, I guess, except the knight. Oh yeah, no, any crew, that's the thing about sailing, they, sailing was dangerous. I mean, besides the whole disease and storms and rocks and everything else, but you know, if your crew gets sick of you, it don't take much to throw you overboard, and now you're gonna sail home. But I mean, he literally did name the island San Salvador because it was his savior, because they were ready to get rid of him. Yeah, so here we have the Canary Islands, which were important to fine jerk leave, which were important to the Portuguese. That's how they worked out their colonization strategy. And this Cape Verde Islands, and the Pope worked out his line of demarcation and yada yada yada, and due to the way the line fell, Portugal was able to get Brazil, but nothing else. So Columbus went back to the Caribbean twice to try and get more land for Spain. Instituted the system of encomiendas. I've seen this a million times, but I don't think I've ever said it out loud. Leading me in the expedition received land. It's sort of like the fiefdom thing back in the Middle Ages, where, hey, you were in charge of the expedition, now you get to have land. But the natives had to provide labor, but the thing was, these Spanish leaders were very inhumane to the natives, and also the whole disease thing tended to murder natives in high numbers. And by the time Columbus died in 1506, he had lost the support of Spain, and the islands under Spanish control were in chaos. So, you know, things were in bad shape. So even though by this point nobody believed there was a route to China, or a route to China had been discovered, there was still interest in this new land. 1497 had John Cabot, or Caboto, because he was also from Genoa. Sailed for the English, explored further north in the Atlantic, discovered eastern Canada, but then England's like, okay, that's cool, whatever. That's good enough. I'm not going to worry about it. Portuguese and Spanish pushed in the Caribbean. Amerigo Vespucci wrote these very dramatic accounts of his exploration, which led mapmaker Martin Waldseemüller dubbed the new continent, which was technically South America, as America, and thus we had North and South America. Thankfully not North and South Vespucci. Now, I've actually used this a lot. The Encomenda. When I was in grad school, I did a lot of work for a professor who was writing a book on this. So I actually know a lot more about this than I normally would, because I don't have a lot of formal study in, like, even just regular American history, much less Central American history. But yeah, so what they were supposed to have done, the Spanish were supposed to protect, care for, and Christianize the Indians, and, well, natives. I'm not going to say Indians, because that's incorrect. Regardless of whether it's politically correct or not, which, I mean, I feel like it's not, but it's also not correct. I mean, I feel like if something's wrong, then it's wrong. And then also the natives were supposed to work a portion of their time for Spanish settlers. Okay. I mean, also the natives never asked for this, but whatever. And obviously the reality was much worse. The Spanish forced them to work long labor, didn't pay them, didn't protect them, and seized their land, as one does. And then the natives would die from disease in the harsh working and living conditions, as one does. This eventually would end. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Actually, I have someone very important to talk about in regards to that. So here are some, hey, that's actually Eric the Red. That's cool. Oh, so he found Iceland and Greenland. And then Leif Erikson is the one who made it to Newfoundland and Canada. Okay. That makes sense. And then the white is actually John Cabot. Freaking Vikings, man. And then here is Amerigo Vespucci's travels down the coast here in South America, and then along the northern coast up to Puerto Rico as well. And here is, I'm going to find his name again, Martin Waldseemüller. I lost it again. Yeah. Waldseemüller's map. Now, obviously, the most detailed is Europe, because that's what they know. And then you have Africa's a little bit bloated. They don't really. Okay, there's India. I guess I don't know what that is. If that's India, that's China. Where's Japan? Because they know Japan's out there. Is that supposed to be Japan? I don't know why there's all these different islands. There's Saudi Arabia, and I mean, you can't really put a flat map or a round map properly flat. So he's got the I forget what this is called, but this is actually more accurate than what we have, where it's just like the square map. So this is actually really good. But this is what I've been mapped so far. It's just like the eastern coast of South America, and then like here's the islands in the Caribbean, and then the east coast of North America. So they're thinking, oh, okay, well, we just need to get a way around this, and then we can be over here, and everything will be fine. They just didn't realize how big all of this was. Also, at this time, there's a lot of exploration going on. Vasco Nunez de Balboa traveled across the Isthmus of Darien, which is Panama, and was the first European to see the Pacific Ocean, which doesn't seem right because Marco Polo went to China, so surely he saw the Pacific Ocean? I don't know. Juan Ponce de Leon found Florida and tried to, look for the, search for gold and slaves on the peninsula to the north. He did not find riches, but found the region Florida, meaning flowery land. Clearly, he didn't find the Everglades, because then he would have called it, like, horrible swampland with murder lizards. Okay, we need to talk about Magellan. Magellan. So he set off from Spain in 1519. The blessing of Charles V of Spain, and was intending to circumnavigate the globe. So he was going to go west, go all the way around the globe, and return to Spain from the east by boat. Oh boy. Well, scurvy, natives what wanted to murder him, bad weather what wanted to murder him, his men who wanted to murder him, that all almost stopped the voyage before they even got to South America. I told you it was bad. But the fleet arrived in the Philippines in March of 1521, and then Magellan was killed by a native because they pissed off the natives. However, one of the original five ships and 18 crew, does it say how many of the original crew? No, it doesn't. Dang it. Well, 18 men in one ship out of 5 ships made it back to Spain in 1522. But it had spices, and Spain technically claimed the Philippines, so they considered it a win. And if I can get this to work, we'll watch a little documentary I'm gonna get my headset on because I want to be able to hear it without it doing a feedback loop. So, let me see if I can get this to work. Hopefully, I can get this to work. I wasn't able to get a video to work last time. If I can't get it to work, it'll be here for you guys to see before to see next time. So hopefully. Okay. Now let me. Oh hey, it's. Oh no, it's not. Hold on. Please.
Hello. My fancy mic. And change this to my headphones. Very good. Okay. Now I'm going to open this up. Oh, that's an ad, so we're going to go ahead and let that play through. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this. I really hope it works because this is something that I've done since my first year, I think. Okay. It's not working. I'll full screen it.
There once was a man, his name was Magellan, a Portuguese skipper, the girls found him.
Nope, it does not work. I hate this. Why is it not working? I could just play the audio, but it wouldn't work. So it's the Animaniacs Ballad of Magellan, and it's great. And I'm sad that it doesn't. I can't just play it. It won't.
Cute. He sailed with 5 ships to find the East Indies, then
Yeah.
come back to Spain with a bounty of loot.
I wonder if there's a. Yeah. Well, the the quality is 240 though. I mean, this is something from like the early to mid 90s. Well, I've got the URL and the oh, hold on. I've got the URL and the PowerPoint, so you guys can check that out on your own. But it is really good. I enjoy it. It's worth watching. It actually it does tell. Stop. It does actually tell the story of Magellan, and it's really good. So anyway, here's Balboa traveling across Panama. Ponce de Leon heading up to Florida. Now, St. Augustine, as we're going to see, is where Spain set up a base of operations. And here is Magellan's trip from Spain down South America, down across, just straight across the Pacific. Then eventually he died there in the Philippines, as you can see here. then back on up to Spain. It took 3 years. Good God. Yeah, and I grabbed a screen from, again, it's pixelated as hell because, like I said, it's an old, it's not really high quality images of that. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna put all this up on Blackboard as soon as we get done with the chapter. I'll put it up. So, probably Thursday we'll be finishing this one up. But yeah, I'll be putting this up on Blackboard. Don't you worry. I mean, technically I'm behind on notes as well, so you know, don't worry about it. Okay, so that was Magellan. Somebody that I feel deserves more than a paragraph. Let's discuss map making. So we saw the maps, the big, you know, Falsey Miller's map. What? You just left. What? Really? I'm busy. No, I'm busy. So, the Chinese were the first to develop the woodblock printing way back in the 10th century. So, like the year 900. Between 1452 and 1455. Johann Gutenberg, I wouldn't say he stole the idea. Quit. I wouldn't say he stole it. Yeah, he's being difficult. Don't bite me, please. Don't bite me, jerk. But the whole, Johann Gutenberg invented the printing press is very much wrong. He modified it so that it would work for English type print, which is fair, but he didn't invent it. And being able to print easily and relatively cheaply meant that you could make journals from European explorers and maps from these cartographers to be printed and circulated among scholars, and increase the interest in this new world. I will note that New World isn't used much in this book, so I try not to use it too much in my notes. And when I did use it, I made a point of putting it in parentheses. Now, obviously, the natives in America had their own way of doing things. The Maya had glyphs that they carved on large flat stones known as stela that were used from just boundary lines to recording their history. So it was, you know, they were much more advanced than what the explorers would make them out to be. And I don't know, I mean, I assume my mic isn't picking this up because it's not supposed to pick up every sound, but this cat purrs like a motorcycle. So there's the Chinese woodblock print. And the printing presses. There again is an older map of the world. I suppose this was after Magellan's round the world trip, because now it understands, hey, there's more to the Americas. But still not a lot of understanding of just how much was up here yet. But we've got South America pretty decently covered. Actually, I'm going to take a step back here. I'm navigationally challenged. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I'm navigationally challenged as fuck to use a polite term. Like, you put me in a city with like grid-based roads, I still get lost. But the fact that these guys could be out on ships, right, out in the ocean, and they come up on these unfamiliar shores, like, okay, based on the position of the stars and where the sun is and the time of year and where we are, this is probably about what the coastline looks like. So let's draw this, and then we'll bring it back to the map maker, and he can make what the world probably looks like. What? That's crazy. I mean, you look at this now, it's like, ah, man, look, they didn't know what they were doing, but they really did. They really, really did. It's nuts. Like, I could barely draw a map of my backyard, I feel like, and it's just a box. Like, the trees are over there, I guess. Okay, let's talk about the Columbian Exchange, and then we'll be done with this section. I just want to make sure we're not cutting this part off. So this is going to be a common theme when it comes to Native Americans and Europeans. So, as the Spaniards are moving forward with conquering the Native Americans, they were aided by a disease, and boy, were they. The Incan Empire fell from 9 million in 1530 to less than 500,000 by 1630. Aztecs and Maya, around 40 million total to around 1500 in 1500 to about 3 million in 1650. This depopulation in Central and South America from smallpox and other diseases was far more devastating than the Black Death. But we don't talk about it because it wasn't European-centric. But this absolutely wiped out these civilizations that were highly advanced and highly civilized. But they stood in the way of a extremely aggressive, conquering empire, and unfortunately for them, they weren't prepared for the germ warfare. This was part of the so-called Columbian Exchange. This transfer of disease, flora, and fauna between Americas, Africa, and Europe. The disease spread and demographic change, as I mentioned, was more devastating than the bubonic plague. I mean, it absolutely wiped out these civilizations. And the Africans' partial immunity to malaria and yellow fever also, unfortunately, made them attractive to these traders seeking laborers in the Caribbean. Europeans also introduced pigs and iron to America. So, also they introduced horses to America. Horses had been extinct in America for tens of thousands of years, and Europeans brought modern horses to North America. And then the resources that were brought back across the Atlantic, besides the stolen gold, included maize, corn, potatoes, tobacco, and cocoa, chocolate. Sugar, which was developed in Asia, was also widely grown in the Caribbean, and that actually was a major source of slave labor as well. And this trade took labor from Africa to produce raw resources in America and then shipped to Europe to make the finished product. And this is one of many pictures of the Columbian Exchange. Sometimes it more specifically shows stuff coming out of Africa. But the important bit is this here. The disease: smallpox, influenza, typhus, measles, malaria, diphtheria, whooping cough, which just devastated the populations in the Americas. But also coming from the Americas, tobacco, major cash crop. Potatoes, important for my ancestors. Tomatoes were considered poisonous for a while. They didn't understand what tomatoes were. That was a weird thing for a little bit. Okay. I think that's the next. Yeah. Okay, so let me close this before I tear anything up. Let me grab my idiot cat. Come here, Otto. Ah! God, you're so heavy. Okay. All right. Do you have anything to say? Okay. Well, unless you guys have any questions, I think that will do it for us. Oh, fine, get down. Shit all over me. Unless you guys have any questions, that will do it. We don't have too much further in this chapter to go, so I think we should be able to move on Thursday, or at least finish this up on Thursday, and then I'll put it up on Blackboard. I am trying to take my time with it. Oh, that one's Otto. That is my goofball Otto von Bismarck, named after Prussian Chancellor Otto von Bismarck because I was teaching history at the time, and he's a fun character. Toru should be back here. There you are. Hey, Toru. Hold on. Yes, I will. For notes, here we go. Excuse me. Ah, man, I don't know what to say about the notes. That's really up to you. But I will say that, what's in. Oh, I'm sorry, girl. What's gonna be on the test is going to come from my notes here. And as far as what to study, let me find my brain. The way I do it, I read the book, or I read each section, and then I make each PowerPoint or each slide, and then when I go to make the test, I go through and find what I feel like stands out and is important. And it's not going to be like really nitpicky crap, but stuff that's more broad. Like for this particular slide, what was the transfer of disease, flora, and fauna between Americas, Africa, and Europe? And then if it's multiple choice, it'll be 3 things that are wrong, and then Columbian Exchange. Or if it's short answer, just tell me Columbian Exchange. I'll probably also have something on here about, the disease issue with the Native Americans. That sort of thing. That said, also after finishing my study guide, after finishing the test, I then take the test and make a study guide from it and put that on Blackboard for you guys. And usually, I try to finish the class before the test early so we can go over the study guide, or at least go over any questions you guys have on it. So, yes, there will be a guide for what is important. And I make sure to put that up, well before the test so you guys can at least be looking at it. But as far as, what's going to be on there, it's all here. Because I don't use the test banks or all this pre-generated crap, because that stuff's always nitpicky and stupid. It's all made by me. All my notes are made by me. The only stuff that's not made by me is the book, and I get my notes from the book and then create everything from there. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. I kind of lost where I was halfway through that. Sorry. But as far as standards for notes, just especially if I bang on something for a while, it's probably going to be on there. Obviously Magellan's going to be on. Is going to be on the test. Magellan's important. Queen Isabella is important. You know, she was the Queen of Spain, and she had a ton of power. She was the one that told Columbus, "Hey, do the thing. I don't care what anybody says. I've got the power. I'm calling the shots here." You know, if I give it more than just a once over, I'm probably looking at it a little more closely. But I will definitely have a guide that's more specific than that. Don't you worry. All right. Anything else? Yeah, you bet. Thank you for asking. I'm sure you weren't the only one that was wondering. I'm glad. I'm glad. You guys are asking the questions. And again, you know, if ever you need, just email me, and I'll see. Yeah, I already took care of that. Took care of that. Okay. Yeah, and again, if you need to ask anything outside of class, just email me. Don't you worry about it. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and call this a day. Still got some more notes for the next chapter to do, but for right now, I think I'm gonna lay down because I've been up since 1 a.m. Yeah, that'll do. All right, y'all take care. Have a good day. See y'all on Thursday. That'll be fun, and we'll continue talking about Spain. Really, it's a lot of Spain for a while, which is important. Like it's like, oh yeah, America and England. It's like, yeah, but later we got to talk about Spain first. Spain's important. All right, y'all take care. See y'all then. Thanks for coming by. I know this online stuff's a little bit weird, but thanks for sticking with me. All right. See y'all Thursday. Bye.